areas for localized commercial and residential development that may become necessary as the village grows. So it's a very good thing. One of the things I wanted to comment about is item 10A on the agenda, and that was a conflict at the last board meeting. Item 10A I thought was very interesting. Clyde and Monica were very adamant, and I thought appropriately so, that the 20% level be maintained. That was something that through discussions and representations to people who gave their blessing to the project before it came to the board was important. And I also, by the same token, had sympathy for Mr. Bill's comment that, you know, the market's flat, what happens if, and fill in the blank. And while I have sympathy for that, I also trust the judgment of the board that, you know, if there's a problem like that, come back and we'll see what we can do to work with you on a temporary basis. But I see no need to deviate. And I congratulate Clyde and Monica on that. I think that's absolutely appropriate. Not that I want to discourage appropriate development. I think it's good. It's a good project. Certainly it will improve a corner that has been let go down tubes for a while. But more importantly, I think it's important to maintain some level of consistency in how we deal with developers, that they really need to have some type of a level playing field. We do need to have some flexibility. If there is a problem, we can address the problem. But I do believe that it's appropriate to keep the standard there and make sure that that standard is there so that anyone coming in knows that's what it is and there won't be one project favored over another. So I believe while flexibility is critical, I also believe that Clyde and Monica were very much on target with that. And I urge the board to consider sticking to its guns with regard to that particular issue, with the caveat that if that problem should come to pass, as Mr. Mills identified, that he should have the ability to come back to the board or anyone else who may be aggrieved, perhaps a particular condominium owner, and seek some temporary relief. Thank you.
There are no more sign-ups, Mr. President.
Anyone else wishing to speak on citizens' comments? Mr. Bragg.
John Bragg, 4707 84th Street. This meeting is now going on for about 2 hours. If I look at the agenda correctly, we're still on page 1 of a 3-page budget. If I'm not mistaken, in the minutiae of budget preparations, there was an adjustment made to summarize board meetings rather than verbatim transcription. And if that's true, tonight is good evidence that you made a good decision.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Hearing none, I'll close citizens' comments. We'll move on to item 10. First item being item A, that is proceed.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Skipped over one there.
I would like to.
Getting beyond John's page 1 here right away to page 2.
Yeah, I would just like to respond to Mr. Babcock. You are correct. Board comments. We can make a comment to your response, and you won't have to wait till the very end.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other responses? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 9. I don't want to skip over that one. Administrative report.
You know, I did not compare one thing, because I think we had plenty to talk about. So.
Then we'll get to page 2. Item 10 being, first one being item A, and that is the receive the planning commission recommendation to consider resolution 07-71 to approve the preliminary condominium plan for the redevelopment of the properties for the 4 to 7 unit condominium buildings, be known as Springbrook Place, generally located at the southeast corner of 91st Street, 22nd Avenue.
Move to remove it from the table.
Second. Second. Motion and a second to remove from the table. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. We'll get them all there. Jean?
Mr. President, members of the board, this in fact was unfinished business from our last meeting. The PowerPoint presentation is still from the very beginning when we have talked about the preliminary plat for this project. So I'm going to be going through these initial slides pretty quickly to get to the items of discussion from the last meeting. Again, the petitioner is requesting to redevelop some properties at the southeast corner of 91st Street and 22nd Avenue. There's an existing strip mall at that location, which is run down and deteriorated. It's proposed to be raised. And he is proposing a residential land use to be located at that location, a condominium development. There were some environmental assessments that were completed for this property, a phase 1 and phase 2. We did learn that the site was contaminated, and so the developer came forth to the village to seek some assistance or to work with the village in order to help remediate this particular site. What we did find is the soil contamination did exist on the eastern portion of the development site, an area that does need to have the soil removed and remediated. There was also groundwater contamination that was also found at the site due to previous land uses that had been dumping or leaking in that location. You will remember that we did show you some photographs that were taken as part of the blight determination study that was forwarded to the Community Development Authority of the village. They did determine that the site was a blighted condition site. To assist with the cleanup of the site, the developer requested and the village approved to create a tax increment district number 4 to provide for blight elimination, rehabilitation, and redevelopment of the existing property to create an economically viable future land use in this area, benefiting the area as well as the village. We did go through all the various meetings that the Plan Commission, the CDA, the Village Board, and the Joint Review Board had held in order to determine whether or not we consider this as an eligible TIF project. The developer, as part of this project, presented a Springboard Place condominium development to be developed at this location. What he was proposing were 4 buildings, 7 units each, or 28 total units. The Plan Commission recommended, and the board also did support the neighborhood plan and the comprehensive plan amendments for this particular property. There was a total of 3.35 acres with 4 7-unit buildings that were proposed. We went through each of the condominium buildings with respect to the square footages. There was some question at the Plan Commission meeting with respect to the sizes. All of that information has been clarified and has been placed correctly on the plat. In fact, we have charts that show square footages of units as well as the garages for each of the units proposed. We did discuss open space on the site, where the detention basins would be located, where the trees would be preserved on the site. We indicated that the developer would be installing municipal or public sewer and water. All other amenities on the site would be private, including access and stormwater. What he was requesting through this preliminary plat was the rezoning of the property to the R11, UHO, and eventually to the PUD designation. We specifically outlined in the PUD all the different details, the amounts and the sizes of the areas to be covered with brick. One of the things that the developer and I are still looking out is that we would like to modify the color of one of the bricks, and we are still working that issue out. It's not a significant issue. But at the last meeting, there were 2 issues that were brought forth that we discussed prior to approving this preliminary plat. The first is the percentage of owner-occupied units that would be as part of this development. And what we have agreed to between the staff and the developer is that 80% of the units would be owner-occupied as presented initially by staff, and up to 20% of the units could be rental units. The modification that we had made, or the agreement that we had made with the developer, is that it should clearly state that the declarant has the right to pass on that rental provision to the owners of the condominium association, that he does not have to wait until all of the units are built in order to transfer a portion of that right. The staff just cautioned him as to when he would like to transfer that right, but the bottom line is that 80% will remain owner-occupied and 20% maximum will be rental, which would be 6 units. So that's what